Hello. My name is Zar and welcome to my YouTube channel, where I'm going to be talking about books while playing games, mostly because I'm sad, I don't like my job, and I welcome any escape from the burden of this reality. This is going to be the first video in my recommendations series where I try games for the first time and talk about some of my favorite stories. The majority of my recommendations are going to be standalones, or books that can be read as such, because I believe in the standalone's supremacy and I literally have no fucking patience or time for sequels. Okay, so first on the list is the book that initially made me think about creating this channel. It's called House of Salt and Sorrows by Aaron A. Craig. A young adult retelling of the fairy tale The 12 Dancing Princesses by the Brothers Grimm. For those who are not familiar, it's a story about 12 sisters that sneak out to go dancing each night without their father knowing. The only evidence are the worn-out dancing shoes he finds every day that he has to replace. Every fucking day. Imagine that. I would be pissed as fuck, looking at that long-ass bill. Anyway. This retelling had it all: mystery, murder, beautiful balls, creepy shit happening, and I guess you could say some romance? I will get into it later. The story is centered around our main girl Annalie, who had a very happy family, but her mother tragically died, then 4 of her 11 sisters mysteriously died as well, and shocker, her father got remarried to a younger woman. A classic, I know. Creepy magical shit begins to happen. Annalie starts to believe her sisters didn't die by accident, and it's up to her to get to the bottom of the mystery. Regarding the romance, what's important to note is that these girls have been practically prisoners in their own home, a secluded manor by the sea, due to the extended mourning period, so when they finally get to go out, they become feral as fuck, just completely unhinged. Like first day out of the house, Annalie meets and falls for hot boy Cassius. Basically, the first guy with good teeth that she saw. For me personally, she was just too down bad for her own good, which is totally valid and entertaining. Some people have expressed that it was too insta-lovey for them, however I would argue that it was insta-lust instead. Our girl was starving and boy was cute AF. I cannot judge. And honestly, this is the type of shit I'm here for. I love it when female characters are so down bad, to the point they start losing brain cells. That's when I truly feel seen. Finally, some real representation. The writing itself was very atmospheric, spooky, and pretty. It managed to capture the suspense and drama you can usually find in Gothic stories. The scenes were very fairy tale-like, enchanting and quite haunting. There are magical doorways leading to cool parties, chilling nightmares, creepy visions, talks about gods, and lots of dancing in glamorous dresses. And I really think the author's approach and handling of one of my favorite Brothers Grimm stories was fresh and original. You can see it's their debut novel, but if you want something that doesn't take itself too seriously but still creepy and hot, I recommend you try House of Salt and Sorrows. Moving on. The Bone Orchard by Sarah A. Mueller. This book got me googling sepia-colored hair like my whole life depended on it. It's another dark fantasy story, more on the horror side with lots of twists and heavy themes. The magical system is very original, and one thing about me is that I award bonus points for those. Give me something fresh and new that I have to figure out and I'm yours for at least a week. The story revolves around Charm, the last living necromancer/prisoner of war who manages a brothel, where her creations the bone ghosts work as female companions for her high-class powerful clients. The book makes you question whether these bone ghosts are her children made from her flesh and bones, or some parts of her personality that she decided to part with, in an attempt to deal with all of the shit she went through. All of them have distinct voices, different desires, and endearing stories. They felt like a bunch of bickering yet lovable sisters. Charm's life is relatively okay, I guess, for a severely traumatized and abused prisoner of war, but then she is summoned to the king's deathbed, where he tasks her in finding out which one of his terrible sons is responsible for poisoning him. This is his last order in exchange for her freedom, and one you will come to realize she cannot disobey. In comparison to the House of Salt and Sorrows, this book handles more mature and sensitive topics such as sex work, violence, the treatment of sex workers, suicide as well as sexual and emotional abuse. It never tries to glorify any of the horrific shit that happens or makes light of it in any way. The story also grapples with topics about identity, dealing with the trauma from said abuse, as well as the complicated relationship between Charm and her bone ghosts. There is some romance here. I would even say it was better executed and portrayed than in House of Salt and Sorrows. It was delicate and intense at the same time, but not the sole focus of the story. The level of intimacy the author achieved just by a simple hand-holding got me screaming. The characters had chemistry. Like major fucking hard eyes for each other, and it showed in a subtle, yet wanting to burn your house down just to feel a part of what they have kinda way. The Bone Orchard is a clever tale of mystery, dark secrets, trauma, and politics. I found it delightful how the morally gray characters' choices further the plot, and you can sense the author put a lot of thought when writing this book. Last but not least, the Dreamblood two-part series by N.K. Jemisin. They can be read as two stand-alones, The Killing Moon and The Shadowed Sun. Without giving too much, I can say that the author managed to create a rich, engrossing and colorful world with its own magical system, cultures, history, and religions. The Killing Moon tells the story of Ehiru, a priest of the dream goddess Hananja, who is tasked with entering dying people's dreams and gathering their souls, so they can live forever in peace. Up until now he has been a devoted follower of the dream goddess, but after an incident during a gathering, he begins to doubt everything he has ever known. At the same time something begins to lurk in the shadows, taking the lives of dreamers, whose time has not yet come. In order to get to the bottom of this mystery, Ehiru is joined by his apprentice Najiri, and Sunandi, the female ambassador of another country, aka the original girl boss. Due to their different views on life and death, just completely opposite morals, there is a lot of friction in their delicate alliance, lots of arguments that are just so good. Like yes, more drama please. The story is smartly written, and provides an interesting commentary on life and death, what it means to be given a merciful end, as well as sexuality. It's incredibly sensual and dark and suspenseful. The mystery aspect of the book was very well executed, so you are kept on your toes the whole time. The characters are complex and not at all your clear-cut good guys or bad guys for that matter. They have their own goals and sometimes make choices. Overall, The Killing Moon is a beautiful epic fantasy story that offers you an adventure in this dreamlike rich world, where not everything is what it seems. The second book of the series is called The Shadowed Sun, and it takes place some 10 years after the events of Book 1. We get to follow the journey of three new characters, a priestess and healer, now hostage in a barbarian tribe, an exiled prince, with attitude issues at first, who is living with said barbarian tribe, and a beautiful noblewoman, used by her rich father for his own gains. I have to say that her arc was the hardest to read because it deals with sexual assault, but the author treats her with utmost respect and thought. They don't use her experiences for a cheap shock factor, and her story is handled with care and importance, still heartbreaking though. What I really enjoyed was the way the author examines major themes such as women's role in a patriarchal society, aka what it means to be a woman in a male-dominated world that worships female goddesses, but strangely denies women access to higher callings and positions of power. There is thoughtful commentary on belonging and religious beliefs. How do you reconcile your identity with your religion, that may not offer you kindness or a place in its world? We also get to witness the effects of prolonged abuse, surviving it and living with the trauma. There are also characters with questionable at times motivations and their growth throughout the book, plots to overthrow the occupying rulers, intrigues, and a dream plague. We got it all folks. I think I liked this one more, purely because of the romantic aspect of the story. I'm just an uncurable sucker for a happy ending. And I loved the way it was executed. We didn't get your average, but still valid, kiss me passionately in the middle of a battlefield romantic conclusion. Instead, we get to witness the characters' slow, yet mature realization that they truly desire each other's companionship and friendship. This was the first video in my recommendations series. Thank you for watching. If you are sad, like; if you hate your job, share; and if you want to board my spaceship out of this bleak reality, please subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.